Hello students, my name is Ekta Arora and I am your instructor for today. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. So grade 7 students, today we are going to understand actually your first chapter of SSC, which is where, when and how. Now India, if you'll talk about India, it lies in Asia. Let me show you the continent quickly. See, this is Asia, whole Asia, and India lies here in the south part. So, India occupies the major part of South Asia. It is bounded by the Himalayas here in the north, and if you see here we have India, Indian Ocean. If you see here, we have Arabian Sea, and here we have Bay of Bengal. So these are the two arms if you talk about India. Now, if you talk about Indian subcontinent, it has these many countries: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, and Bhutan. Now, how come this name Bharat, India, came into existence? So there are many beliefs. It's a long theory. In shortcut, I'll tell you. See, in ancient times, India was known by different names, as I told you earlier. The Aryans were the first who occupied the Indus Basin and started calling it as Subsandhu. Then later they advanced their area and they started calling it as Aryavata and so on. The more they went ahead and they kept on changing the names. Then Persians came, they called it Sindhu, which is related to Hindu, and the land beyond it, they called it as Hindustan. Then Greeks came, they called it Indus. But during the Vedic period, India was named as Bharat after the king Bharat. See this, all of this. So during the Vedic times, the territorial jurisdiction of India extended from Afghanistan in the west to Myanmar in the east. So Afghanistan is here, it's here, and Myanmar is here. So from here till here, whole India was there. And if you talk about north, it was from Nepal, and this Tibet was also the part of India till here, Tamil Nadu. And at that time, this country was divided into 5 main regions. These are the names. Now, during the age of Mahajanpadas, there were 16 Janpadas, districts. And these 16 districts, Anga, Magad, Kashi, Koshala, Matsya, and so on, they rose into prominence. They came into the power. Now, Chandragupta Maurya were the one who established the empire in India and brought greater part of the subcontinent under one political umbrella. Means one province were there. The Mauryan Empire reached its zenith during the time of Ashoka the Great, which included the present Afghanistan, Nepal, Pakistan, and whole of the India property. Now, another big empire was also built up during the Gupta period time. It was also stretching from the Himalayas in the north till Narmada River in the south, and from Gujarat till Bengal in the east. Then came Mughal Emperor Akbar was there. He also unified, means Ek Karna, the whole of the subcontinent consisting of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka were also the part of British Empire at that time. Now, if we talk about the time period, see, generally, if you talk about any time period, so it is divided into 3 parts. Now, if you talk about our time period also, India's time period is also divided into 3 parts. The first one is the ancient, then medieval, and then the modern. Now, this medieval period is further divided into 2 parts: the early medieval period and the late medieval period. Now, why this period is so important? Because we got sufficient information about this period. That is why we are talking about it right now. Now, what we got to know about it? Most of the regional languages of India were developed during this period. Our food interests also evolved during this period. New religions like Dinai, Sikhism, and many other religious beliefs and social customs and traditions originated in this particular period only. The Indian culture developed with the fusion of Hindu and Muslims culture traits. Such a beautiful thing. This integration reflects in art, architecture, literature, music, painting, and so on. The Bhakti and the Sufi saints brought about a better understanding of the fundamental principles of Hinduism and Islam, which caused a greater harmony and tolerance among each other. The institution of well-minted currency. So this is very important because this led to the prosperity, our economic prosperity. Let me finish this first. Currency led to the economic development of the country and marked improvement in agriculture and expansion in the trade and commerce. Now, because of this thing, our economically we developed a lot. There was prosperity everywhere, and that is why many Europeans also entered into the country. However, there was a drawback, a major one. The position of the women in the society went. It was deteriorated. Now, how come we got to know about all of these things? Why? How come we are so sure? Because of the sources we got to know. Now, there are two types of sources when you talk about the history: archaeological and literary sources. Now, archaeological is further divided into three parts: inscriptions, coins, monuments, temple, forts, palaces. And literary sources are also divided into further parts: autobiography, biography, literary works, account by foreign travelers, literature. Now, when we are talking about all of these things, what do we mean by these terms? So, what are inscriptions? Inscriptions is uh, something we got written on the plate or on the stones. So, we got to know about the information. Like, see, the study of inscription is called epigraph. Inscriptions written on plates of copper or engraved on stones and rocks have been found in large numbers in several villages and temples. That is why we gather this information. That is why we are sure that this information is true. They provide us authentic information about important events and their dates. The qualities and the achievement of the rules, their art and administration, everything they tell us, everything. Now, coins. At that time, whatever coins we got, like in today's time, if you'll see, we have Mahatma Gandhi, we have written two, and different on the currency, if you'll see. So, what we know, Reserve Bank, we get to know the information about the country. So, coins also tell us the information, what was trending at that time. Monuments, temple, fort, beautiful Taj Mahal in Agra. It tells us that what was there, what was prevailing at that time. If you go to Taj Mahal, there was a stone which has inscriptions written over it, that when it was made, why it was made, everything is there. See, here we have some examples. Several temples were built in different styles of architecture by various rulers, like Brideshwara Temple, Ellora, Kailashinath Temple, this Qutub Minar, Buland Darwaza, Fatehpur Sikri, Taj Mahal, Red Fort, Chittor Fort, Gwalior Fort, many forts were there. So they all tell us about that particular period. Now next come to the literary sources, which is the second important source. Now literary sources also divided into further parts. What is the first part is autobiography. What is autobiography? If somebody, suppose if I am writing about myself, so this is autobiography. So the kings at that time, see, the names are also given. Babur and Jahangir, they wrote about themselves. So this is autobiography. They told about their empire in their books, whatever they have written. They told about the empire, how's the rules, what's the position, how's the discipline, everything, each and everything. So this is autobiography. Now, second point is biography. What is biography? When somebody else writes, if somebody else is writing about myself, so this is biography. Various authors wrote chronicles about the life and activities of various rulers and dynasties, like Prithviraj, Raso by Chand Bardai. This is the historical account of medieval age. Akbarnama by Abul Fazl. This is a biographical account of the life and vision of Akbar. Next comes literary works. Literary works include autobiographies like Tusuke Babari, Aine Akbar. So, literary means something written. So these are the illustrated with beautiful painting. Now written, they are written. Also, they have given examples. I mean, whatever is written, it has paintings also, miniature paintings also. So they throw a good deal of light on the development of art and painting. Next is accounts by foreign travelers and historians who came to India. Whosoever came, visited India, they saw, observed everything, and then they wrote everything. And the books which we got afterwards, we got to know about more about our period. Foreign travelers like Al-Biruni, who visited India during the 11th century, wrote vivid accounts of the contemporary history, geography, astronomy, philosophy, etc. Now, next comes literature. In literature, we have got many literary works. For example, Dandin's Dash Kumar Charitra, Banas Harsh Charitra. Beside the above, we have the secular literature also, which was produced in this time, which includes dictionaries, work on grammar, dramatics, medicine, romance, religion, etc. This is all about the chapter. This is your first chapter. It has, so what we discussed today, we discussed first the position of India. It is in the southern part of Asia. Second, Indian subcontinent. Third, we talk about how we got the name Bharat or India. Then we discussed the time period, which is divided into 3 parts. Then what were the major developments during this medieval period? Now, what are the sources, how we got to know about it? So I hope you all have enjoyed this and understood. I hope if you have any query, you can. All right. We'll see you in the next class. Thank you.